Indiana Sports Network Cups, given to guests on Timeout with the Coach, are provided by Fearless Designs.
John Crooks is the coach here, one of them anyhow, as we get all through here. I'm Herb King. Tonight we're going to talk to Shawn Nevill and talk a little bit about Northview basketball and all the things going on. It's I look at all the things that have happened in your career, and this has to be like, whoa, what an awesome time. 24-3. You literally pushed a state finalist very hard. And you had opportunities, but the best I think is yet to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I've told people, and I had a social media post where I said, these last 2 years have been pretty incredible, beyond my kind of wildest dreams. Even last year, when we were 14 and 12, just the type of kids we had and the way we finished and winning that sectional, it's something that I won't forget. And then to kind of come back this year and surpass a lot of our team goals. Some of the stuff we did this year, we had mentioned as team goals, but what we figured out kind of early to mid-season is, when you do get a goal, hey, we want to make another one. We're just not satisfied. Let's make another one now. So it's been a special 2 years, and I got to credit the kids that we have on the team and in the program. They just come ready to work, and it's a special group for sure.
Well, it's a special group, but if you look at it, if I look down the road, you're not losing very much in terms of numbers for sure.
Right.
And even you have a majority of your big guns, so to speak, back.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you never know. I made the mistake kind of my first year. We had when I was at South Vermillion, we didn't lose a ton of guys as far as stat goes, but it's always tough to replace seniors. Carson Fosdick did a lot of things for us this year. A lot of times we would make the game plan where you don't really have to rebound. You just have to keep your guy from rebounding. So he would block out his guy and take him out of the play, and our guards would sweep in. We have some of the best rebounding guards, I think, in the state, and they would just swoop in and go get it. So we will have to replace him, and then Zach Buell as well, who unfortunately didn't get a lot of time with injuries, but leadership and knowing just what a varsity basketball is, and he helped Quinn a lot this year when Quinn started getting some minutes late in the season, and that stuff is just, I always say you can't teach being a senior. That's just something that seniors have, and Josh Fowler, my first year, had it as well. You can't teach being a senior, and so they'll be tough to replace, but I think we have the guys that can do it.
I think you have the guys, and now's your time, John.
Yeah.
Now's your time.
To do what?
Well, to talk about the 8th grade team that you coach here at Northview.
Oh. First of all, I'm going to say I want to officially go on the record and say that I'm not that happy with what you did this year because, first it was, I had a 20-win season, won the Wabash Valley, and then Lancaster comes along. Does the same thing again, and does it, and I think, well, he just tied it, he won it, had the same record, all that kind of stuff. Then you come along, and he screws everything up, and wins it and gets into the club. Wins the Wabash
Valley.
There was
the club.
Gets in the club, and then he goes and wins 24 games, But hey, I will say this. That team was a pleasure to watch, Coach. I mean, they played hard, and I will throw out the 17-0 8th grade, that I got you set up for the next I don't know how many years to do the same thing. But the kids that played for you, I was going to tell you that I know that the fans out there can't really tell, but I was at the Y working out. I think the Monday, I think it was the Monday after the regional game, and I walk in with my son to go work out upstairs, and almost your whole team. Yeah. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Your whole team was down there playing. Yeah. And you can't. That's something that that this comes natural to those kids.
Yeah. You can't keep them out of the gym. There's time, especially regional week. You win the sectional. Coach Wolf, we talked about this. You have the first couple of days after where you're tired, you're sore, you're getting game plans installed, and really we had to kind of protect each other from ourselves, because they're like, let's go, let's go. And it's like, we got to rest, we got to recoup. Sometimes practice was maybe an hour on the floor, and I'm wrapping up practice, and the kids are like, we're done. Hey, who's going to Y?
Yeah.
Having those types of kids makes coaching pretty
not easy, but easier.
Easier for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was lucky, hearing about those all year. I didn't know about them, and every so often I'd get to, what Coach Crooks did. You guys can beat that. You know what Coach Lancaster did. And so every time I thought, the best start in school history, every time I thought, hey, we got that goal, I can relax a little bit. They're like, well, now there's this goal. They did that too, and I'm just sitting there, okay, now 20-win season and everything. But it was fun. You look back on it, and I'm glad now that we are a little bit away from the season, that I can look back and enjoy what we did, because it was special. And I don't want to lose that kind of underdog role that we've relished and we've been using, because that first year no one expected us to win the sectional. We find a way. No one really expected us to win the Classic last year. We find a way. I don't think anyone expected 24 wins from this group. Maybe next year people thought that, but and I want to fully relish that and not lose that, because I think we talk about it all the time. Our team is better together than any of them could be individually, and that's kind of hopefully the secret to our success, and something that we can keep rolling here.
And you're young, it's not like you did this with a bunch of seniors, veterans that have been there for 3 years, and they've gradually got better, Overall, you're still very young.
We're still young, and like I said, we do have some seniors next year that have played a lot of minutes, and we're still going to be really young as a program. I know you're excited, and I can't thank him enough for coaching our 8th grade team. I had to have a lot of meals in here to convince you to do that. So he like,
Josh tried.
This was easy.
Trout had to give me a driver.
Yeah.
A $400 driver. That's the only thing. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that, but they bought me. If I got a $400 driver, my son ended up with.
But anytime we can have really good coaches, and you at the 8th grade, and Christian Romke, Jacob Fowler at the 7th grade, and Luke Lancaster at the 6th grade.
All of them did great.
It doesn't always work out this way, but I hope people understand, our youth program is set up kind of 3rd through senior year. And I really try to, as a program leader, to make sure that, the kid in the 3rd grade is just as important as the senior, and that they see me and I see them. And, that's how a program develops, and that's how you're good year in, year out. So
sure.
Very thankful that we have good coaches at the middle school and high school level.
Definitely at the high school level.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at it, and he said youth movement, but you're playing a lot of guys, and it's not one class. And as we go through that, if I look down in your roster, which you had this year, and then I looked at statistically, the same thing's going to happen. I mean, you have this thing literally set that if things work out the way you want them to and plan to, you're going to be continually solid for about 4 years at least. I mean, you can just see that kind of thing happening, and that's a mark of 2 or 3 things. First, you've controlled the environment that you're coaching in, so you do have that youth program coming all the way through. You have the high school set, you have the junior high set, and here's the bad part: it won't all go as planned. That's the problem that we find in high school. Kids are going to make mistakes, or you're going to have a coach that decides, hey, I can be a head coach somewhere, or I can go do this, and I can find a better job, and all those things happen. But from what's going on this year, what do you see happening this next year? You're going to try to keep the same people in the same places and do the same kind of things, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, continuity is key. And I'm only able to do that because we have good people in the community that are willing to help out. Obviously, I can't do everything that I probably want to do as far as the youth level goes. So having good coaches at all of those levels, and having good high school coaches. Our freshman coach Brevin Cooper does a great job. Our JV coach Billy Pettiford. I hate to admit it, he's probably the best basketball player on the team or on the coaching staff. And then Michael Medeiros, who was a Northview graduate and player, and then Josh Trout, who was a Northview player. My staff is tremendous. New this year. We had a volunteer coach as well who did a great job. So those people are who help you, because you can't be everywhere at once, and you're only as good as those people let you be.
Well, and Pettiford, I have to go back on Pettiford and talk about him for a second. That dude is more of a wing-eating dude than he is a coach, I think.
Yeah. No,
if he could coach as good as he can wing-eat, that's going to be NBA right now, man.
I tell you, he
I hope he's listening.
Yeah, I hope so too. He plays a different game than myself did, maybe Coach Reynolds, Dylan did, or even Coach Trout. But
definitely they are.
Because we'll start game plan. It's like, how are we going to defeat this? He's like, we'll just go out and play, right? Yeah. We're going to be better, right?
We had George Hill.
And I'm like, Billy, that wasn't my high school experience, but
college.
We'll just go out there, be 6'6", and it's like.
No, those guys do a great job.
Yeah, those guys are great, and we're all really good friends on and off the floor, and you have to have that as a varsity coach, and that's the first thing I told them when I talked to all of them. I said. Guys, first and foremost, I want a friend. And you can disagree with me as much as you want in the coach's office. We can yell at one another, we can argue or whatnot on what needs to happen. But when we leave this coach's office, we all have to be on the same page.
There you go.
And, defend our program
That's
when
right.
we go outside because as good as the community is, sometimes people say things and
you need an inner circle, man.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
you need the loyalty aspect,
yeah.
and that's the big one.
And they are,
and you have it. Yep.
Yeah, Dylan, Josh, Michael, Billy, Brevin, they're very loyal, and I can't thank them enough for the last 2 years. So.
Well, solid year, and you know that things look up all the way through. And with that opportunity, we're going to pause for our first break and kind of look at this one, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more, probably get a little more into personal things that you do and kind of what makes you tick, if we can do that.
Good.
So,
absolutely.
Again, you're watching Timeout with Coach here from Coach's Timeout in Brazil, Indiana. You're watching Indiana Sports Network.
Grace Clinic Health Professional. Affordable, compassionate, comprehensive healthcare for the whole family. In Terre Haute and Greencastle.
We're the Browns, and this is our account. Our relationship with Riddell really began when we were kids, so when we started our business, it seemed like a natural fit for us.
Riddell's provided all of our financial needs for both personal and business, and we could not be happier with the level of service that we're provided.
Riddell National Bank has helped us grow our business so that we can help grow our communities with the core values that we both share. If you're looking to grow your business, Riddell is your best option.
Indiana Sports Network Cups, given to guests on Timeout with the Coach, are provided by Fearless Designs.
Yep. Hey, and welcome back to Timeout with Coach here. And when we look at it, again, Shawn Nevill is our guest. John Crooks, I'm Herb King. And when we look at different things going on, the question everybody wants to kind of know, and this is it as a coach, is what makes you tick? And when I ask you that, do you spend your time during the season? Is it all basketball, or how do you find your downtime? What are the things that you do to get away from it for, and I'm going to say 24 hours, because you really need that about once a week?
Yeah, I mean, we do watch a lot of film. Huddle makes that very easy. I try to get Coach ingrained in the Huddle. I can see who views our Huddle account, and it stayed on 0.
I'm afraid if I do it, I'll have to do it all the time, and I just got to stay away.
So we watch a lot of film. I do try to set a limit on how much of each team that I watch. And luckily, I have a great family, wife Megan and kids, and they're involved in a lot of stuff. I got into coaching largely because I wanted them to grow up in a gym, and I wanted them to spend Friday nights like I spent Friday nights, and going to the gym and going to watch basketball games and football games. And I know if I wasn't coaching, there'll be a Friday night, we don't have to go watch. And this keeps them in the gym and keeps them involved. And my oldest daughter, Leah, decided not to do basketball. She runs now. She fell in love with running, and I'm very proud of her.
Nothing wrong with that.
And she's really pretty good at it. And I'm like, I don't know how she loves it, but she does. So just keep. But then she's right there, the sectional. She's the first one to come hug me this year when we won the sectional. She's in the student section now, and that part is great. But we try to get away. We try to go out to eat as a staff. Sunday is kind of my day. I try not to watch anything on Sunday, which is probably different than a lot of coaches. Early in the year, I'm usually watching NFL. And I don't know a ton about football, and that's why my son Ryder likes football so much, because I can't tell him anything. I'm like, Ryder, did you play well? He's like, yeah, Dad, I did. Okay. I just believe him, So I don't know much about football, but I like watching the Colts. But Sunday's kind of the day, and then, Monday and Tuesday we usually focus on ourselves. If it's a normal basketball week, what did we do maybe not so well on the previous game, and then Wednesday, Thursday, we'll start looking ahead on the next opponent, and that'll give me Monday night, Tuesday night to watch any film and try to get the game plan together. And again, going back to the staff, we all assign games. I watch pretty much every team, but each one of the coaches' staff takes games throughout the season, and they'll give me kind of the rundown of what they think, and we'll kind of go from there. But Sunday's usually the day I try to stay as free of basketball as I can.
Coach, I don't know what that was. Coach, you have 3 kids?
Yeah, 3. So,
okay.
My oldest daughter, Leah, Ryder's in 6th grade, just finished up. We had a AAU tournament this weekend, so he did well. And then my youngest, Cora, I'm not exactly sure what she's into yet. But
how old is she?
She's in 1st grade. She'll be in 2nd grade next year.
Well, she's got some time to
Yeah, she's got some time to decide
what she wants to do. She might be tossing those rifles there.
She sings pretty well, so she might be in the choir or something like that. But yeah, trying to do something like that. And it is a stressful 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't really realize that until you get away. I've sat at school the last couple of days in a down moment. I'm like, why do I have this down moment? I should be doing something.
Right.
And I'm not. And so for the first few weeks, it does get a little bit hectic. Luckily, we're planning, our summer stuff, our summer games. June's a hectic time. We'll be playing 20, 25 games. Middle school will be playing. We'll be lifting, doing workouts. So there's stuff to do. Our youth camp, it will be coming up the first or into May. So there's stuff to do right now, but it is nice to step away and look back on it.
Sure.
Well, and that idea, some of it just is to soak in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know after you get through a big run like this, you just kind of look back. And you mentioned this when you first came in, like, boy, I can just replay half of that game in my mind without even going to the film. You know exactly what you're going to see. Did you watch the game, the last game? Did you watch your last game yet?
I've not.
Okay. And I would be the same.
I don't know why you didn't call timeout.
No, I'm the same way.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm gonna screw with you here a little bit. When you cut it to 4 and you had a chance to call timeout, and who was it that shot the ball in the corner? Avery took a quick shot.
Yeah.
If that goes in, though, the only reason I'm saying that is because I heard you on another. I know
on the other podcast. Yeah, no. So it was 7, and we had the ball, and I'm sitting there thinking the chance to cut it to 4, and I'm sitting there like, I'm gonna call this timeout, get it across half court, and he caught it so fast.
And he was open
and shot it so fast. I didn't even. And by that time, I'm like, well, I can't call a timeout now just in case it goes in. But in his defense, he had just hit a couple shots before that.
He was feeling good about himself.
And Avery's a really good shooter, and if that goes in, obviously
well,
we're singing a different
you needed
tune.
somebody to get hot,
right?
And he had hit a couple. You know?
And I said it on that podcast. I said I really felt like we needed 5 threes that we don't normally get, or extra beyond. I felt like Avery, I felt Braden, I felt Traven was going to do what they do, but I felt like we needed 5 threes to get over the hump. Quinn hit one early.
Yes, he did. He played well.
He played well, and so we needed 4 more. Unfortunately, we got a rough shooting night. Christian, usually one of our better shooters, his didn't fall. Faz's didn't fall, and we ended up losing by 11. So that 4 threes was 12 points.
Yeah.
It's scary how close we came to that prediction, but 1 or 2 of those fall. We might be talking about a different thing right now.
And it's not all on your kids, because defensively they were very good, especially at the guard position.
Yeah,
I mean, they were able to lock down pretty well.
That Chris Hurt, Indy Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I talked to Braden a little bit afterwards, and he's like, and Braden's not slow.
No,
he's very, very fast.
Yeah.
And he said, I back cut, I forward cut, I went in, I went out, and he was on my hip the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's a blessing and a curse that Braden has that kind of following that every coach is going to game plan
going
to
focus
stop
on him. Yeah.
And he'll get past that. He'll learn from
That'll
that,
make him better.
and it'll make him better.
Well, no doubt.
Well, good coaches do this, and they replay everything in their mind as what's going on, and then you think, what could I have done differently? And that's the part that drives you crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up playing, for my dad and my first coach, and he. I think he's a very, very good coach. Even though he never really did middle school, high school, or anything like that, he only coached us. But he has kind of ingrained, like, hey, coach could have changed that. There's always something a coach could do here or there. So it's always ingrained in my mind, like, what could I have done differently? And other people would tell you, yeah, coach, you couldn't have, it is what it is. You couldn't have done anything different. But, hopefully that's maybe something that'll help me throughout my coaching career, is that just not how I'm wired. I always feel like there's something I could have done different.
Oh, yeah. And then you look back, it'll take you about a month and a half. I'm just telling you, it'll take you about a month and a half to get to that point where you're going, okay, that's over now.
Yeah.
And let's move on. And you really don't have that quite month and a half. I know everybody's going to get started April 7th. From April 7th to May 17th is those open practice dates that you can have in every sport that's not in season. And I'm doing the same thing. I'll have walkthroughs in the morning and do different kinds of things to make sure that our kids are
He's
mentally
a football coach.
Right.
I think sometimes. But those things happen, and you're going to do the same thing. Your kids are going to either be in the gym shooting like crazy, because I don't think you're going to put in a new offense. I don't think you're going to put in a new defensive concept, but it's that skill-driven fundamentals that you're going to be able to do. And I think that's, if you're coaching and you love kids, for you, that's probably the most fun time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where you kind of, when you get into the season, there's very little skill development. There's very little, fundamental work. Unfortunately, we try to do as much as we can, but, you're really focused on the other team. And, I come from a place at South Vermilion, and I loved my time there at South Vermilion, but a lot of times game planning was the most important part. We had to figure out a way to beat teams that quite possibly could have had a little bit more talent than us. Well, sometimes we had more talent, but we had to figure out a way, and so game planning became an important part of what I do as a coach and what we want to do. So when you get in the season, there's very little of that, and especially once you get into February, January, February. You're only on the floor maybe an hour or two, just because you got to save your legs, and you're playing Friday, Saturday nights, and sometimes you're playing Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and so your time on the floor gets diminished. But in the spring, it's a little bit less of a stressful atmosphere, where you can really work on some things. I think as a program, we need to get more consistent outside shooting. So that's where we're going to really be focused on this spring and summer, and hopefully it'll pay dividends next year. People see from November to March, they don't necessarily see the work that goes in, April, May, June, July. August.
And if you're thinking about it, it's not just basketball that does this. I mean, all the sports are doing these kinds of things. And between weightlifting and skill development and all those kinds of things that are going on, that's where you build those relationships with kids, and they know you really care because the gym is open and you're there, or you have an assistant that you can turn it over to be there. And then, helping that skill development builds that character development of work ethic and all those things. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Teaching those kids that character development, that you're able to do it. Just because you have a basketball in your hands doesn't mean it's any different than that character development that you have in a job somewhere else.
Right, absolutely. And it'll bode well, the commitment to, I don't have to be there. There's nothing that says that's not mandatory. It's, voluntary. And but they know if they want to continue and reach the goals that we want to reach to, they have to be committed, they have to be on time, they have to be ready to work. And hopefully that does help them, later on when they're applying for jobs and working at jobs, that, I may not feel the best today, but I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna work as hard as I can, and that's gonna pay dividends. And we talk about it a lot, just because you come in and you work hard, doesn't guarantee anything. We showed the Nick Saban quote probably 5 times last year throughout the year, and the essence of it was nothing. What are you entitled to? And it's just nothing. No matter how hard, nothing's guaranteed. And look, our kids are really good at kind of getting those kind of the symbolism and when we watch those things, they take it to heart.
Coach,
really
do you have anybody playing spring sports?
Yeah, we have a few. I think the entire school might be playing golf. I think they all.
It's an easy way to get on links, man. You don't have to make any payments, and you're there.
Coaching golf is the best.
Yeah, they all learn that the golf team's pretty fun. But a lot of them are running track. A lot of them are playing golf. So.
James Grounds will kill that.
Yeah,
so
we'll do.
I hope he's watching too.
Yeah, we'll do our morning. We'll do our spring stuff in the morning, probably 6:30 or so. And typically, it's a time, especially when we get to the summer, that I'll invite the middle school.
Golf plays baseball, doesn't he?
This year he's golfing.
Is he? Is he really?
He's golfing this year.
Well, he didn't.
Shockingly,
he didn't come by that naturally, because I've seen his dad play golf.
Well, shockingly, he's really good at it.
D-Hart could maybe help him out. They're best friends.
Yeah, I feel like he could pretty much golf, do anything. But shockingly, he's pretty good at it. So and he'll get better throughout the year too.
I'm sure he will.
So my son played a lot of basketball as well in high school, and they did trips in the summer. We went different camps, and if I remember right, it was Texas Tech and Florida and Vanderbilt, and I'm just going through, like, he was always gone in June doing that. Do you take your kids on those overnight camps? Do you go different places, or
we don't do we don't do a ton of overnight stuff, or we haven't as of yet. They have a D1 camp we've talked about. They kind of limit you with only 10 days in the summer, so we can only have 10 competitive days where we're playing other teams. Now we could play 9 games on that day if we want to.
Correct.
But you only get 10. So I've opted more to the weekday shootouts.
Yeah, that are in the general area. I know that most of the colleges have them. Almost every one of them do.
And this year I've branched out a little bit, planning. I haven't registered for all of them, but I have registered our team for the Purdue day camp. Hopefully they said they'd help us get a game at Mackey, so I think that'll be fun for the kids to play on that floor, and try to find games that we don't normally play in the year. Charlie Hughes is over the weekend, but I try to do the weekday shootouts because I think it's important for kids to have their weekends as well during the summer. We go 3 days a week, and then we have our shootouts. I want, for myself and for our coaches too, I want the weekends kind of clear and free, and we can't always do that because the Charlie Hughes is kind of the biggest summer tournament. A lot of college coaches can go and watch. So that's on a Saturday, Sunday. But other than that, we try to keep the weekends cleared and just find teams that we can play, semi-close. But again, we want to try to branch out and play some teams that we don't normally see.
Speaking of branching out, let's talk about this just for a second. How about your schedule for next year? Have you? We know that.
I'm still watching the sectional championship tape here.
I know, but let's talk about this. We know that you've been invited, a good honor, great honor, to play, you know, in the tournament, the big tournament.
You know, that goes back to kind of the dream of these 2 years have been. You know, it just seems like everything has went our way. You know, we do preseason goals, and hopefully he's watching, but I send them a little form, and they have to fill it out. And what's your season goals for the team? And Braden actually asked me, hey, can I see what my goals were? And I took a screenshot and I sent it to him. And it was amazing how close it was. And one of them was the Hall of Fame Classic.
Really? That's
one
awesome.
of them was to win the Classic, win a sectional. You know, we didn't get the regional one, but, you know, it's things that, and maybe this is, you know, a fault of mine, but I really didn't have the Hall of Fame Classic on my radar.
Sure.
And it was on his.
Yeah.
I do think we have to up our schedule a little bit next year as far as, you know, when we played Crispus Attucks, that was a speed that we have not seen.
Sure,
and a speed that it's tough to replicate in practice. You know, I remember the week of the regional, we would have 6 guys guarding our 3 guards and saying, stop them from getting to half court. And it's not the same. So being in the Hall of Fame Classic and being invited to that, one, is a great honor. I'm excited about that, to play the teams that we could possibly play, Mount Vernon, Fortville, as a kid going to Purdue. I talked to a guy this weekend at the AAU tournament, Silver Creek. We'll have 3 Division I commits, and that is a possible game on the other side.
Sure.
And then Crown Point, I don't know as much about, but it's going to be 2 games that's going to prepare us for where we want to go.
And you don't have to give anything up, really, to play in that,
right?
Because it's before Christmas now,
right? It's December
Correct?
23rd, so we can play. I know last time Northview went to the Hall of Fame Classic, we had to give up playing in the first Financial Classic, and our kids don't want to do that. They want to defend their title. I'm sure there's a lot of teams in the Classic that wouldn't want us to not come as well. They want another crack at us, and
sure, yeah.
So being able to do that will be really good for our program and good for our kids.
Sure, yeah.
And if you can take a look at the screen as you're looking right now, you can see the championship coach there. As man, you actually look better in that picture than you do in real life. I'm just going to tell you that.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know, most everybody does that.
Good compliment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was after the Martinsville game. I dropped the ball a few times. We didn't take a picture after we won conference. We didn't take a picture after we won the majority of, or the 22nd game, after we beat the school record for wins.
The school record, yeah.
So I had to do it after the Martinsville game because I kept getting reminded, we haven't taken a picture yet.
Okay, so let me ask you this one. So you cut nets down. What games did you cut nets down this year?
So we cut nets down the Terre Haute North game. We cut nets down Speedway. We've been working on how to cut down a net.
There is an art to it.
There's an art to it, and there's a way to do it. And I think in the sectional,
I'd like to be able to help you with that, but
in the sectional, we actually had it right for a while, and then I think maybe some of the coaches or
cut it in half, didn't they?
Yeah, they cut it in half, you know. But we talked about how to do that. But hopefully, we get a few more chances because there's nothing better than that. You know, I didn't get a chance to as a player. You know, as hard as, and I tell them that all the time, you know, as hard as I think I worked while I was in high school, I never got that opportunity. And, you know, I thought we had a pretty good team. We always ran up against a Sullivan team that was, you know, obviously well coached and a good team, and we never got that opportunity. But going up and doing that, I hope our kids never feel like it's normal, or our community ever feels like it's just expected. You know, we expect to win everything, don't get me wrong, but you know, it is special when you do that stuff.
Well, and you're going to have, I don't want to cliche target on your back, but you're not going to hide from anybody next year. You know? I mean, that's just one of those things. I mean, when you do what you did this year, you know, people are going to be preparing for you, and there's not going to be any overlooking Northview basketball in the next few years. So,
yeah, and I think our kids want that.
Yeah,
I think
they're ready for that.
They're ready for that. They expect it. They want it, and they want to respond to that. You know, when we played Terre Haute North at Northview, and you look around in that gym, and it is packed, and it is fun, and that's how, you know, you remember those games, regardless of what happens at the end for the rest of your life. You remember when we played in a packed gym against Terre Haute North and standing room only and all that stuff. And that's what you remember. And, so you want to create as many of those opportunities as you can. And, we're not going to hide from anyone. We're going to take everyone's best shot. And, we kind of developed our kind of slogan for next year, and we put a little bullseye on there because we know, we're the target of a lot of teams. And,
Gonna be,
I enjoy that. I hope they enjoy that. And we're going to be ready.
Well, let's talk about this briefly. I don't know how much time we have left, but you do have a little bit of a log jam in terms of talent. You know, I mean, I don't want to beat this dead horse, but
17-0 team.
The eighth grade team sending you some really good players.
Yeah, and they're well coached.
Very well coached. They were very well coached in 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, they were.
You look over there; they're 53-0. So all I really did is sit back and drink my drink and let them go up and down. You told me when I first started, you're just gonna have to sit there and let them play.
Yeah, I told you it wouldn't be too tough.
No, it wasn't too tough.
I didn't see you stressed at all.
A couple times.
Every picture I saw, you're laughing on the sideline.
They're good kids.
It's not like he did when he was younger, is what you're saying.
I heard he was a little.
I could get a little wicked every once in a while, but they're good kids. They're good players. They're moving up, and without a doubt, in my mind, watching them play for 17 games, they could play JV, and some of them could play varsity. But you got a little bit of a logjam here that you're going to have to deal with. And, it's a good problem. Right?
Yeah, absolutely, it's a great problem to have. And I hope the team and what we're going to talk about as a team and as a program is, that's the kind of byproduct of being really good.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually started my high school career at Terre Haute North. So when I was a freshman, I was 4'8". But the senior class was Alan Goff, Clint Weddle, Brian Reed.
Yeah,
it would have been a little tough.
Well. Yeah.
It would have been a little tough for me to walk in there and be like, "Hey, can I get some varsity minutes today?" I wasn't gonna. They were awesome.
Yeah.
I looked up to those guys like, "Man, you guys are just so good every day." And hopefully we get to a point as a program where that's kind of expected as well.
Sure.
It's not a bad thing to play freshman basketball.
No, you're right.
It's not a bad thing to play JV basketball.
To wait your turn. Yeah.
And then when you get to be a junior and senior, you're ready to go, and you're ready, not rebuild but just reload. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the best programs in the state, that's how they are built, and that's how they succeed. Is a freshman coming in, I think. Braden when he was a freshman, Traven, Peyton, Quinn, I think they're very special players, but the hope is that, we get to a point as a program where it's going to be tough to crack time for a freshman.
Yeah. I think you're there.
And that's what we say with depth and the ability to roll that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at your roster, and you're going to roll just a little bit every year, not the whole thing's going to roll over. It's just not going to happen anymore for about 4 or 5 years. And when you look at it that way, then you're going to have some, when I say this coaching-wise, you're going to have some fun. Mm-hmm. Also creates massive headaches on who to play and what's going on. And I think most of that comes from the grind, does it?
Yeah.
In mine, we call it the grind. You're going to work every day. You're going to outwork the other guy, or you're not going to get that playing time.
Yeah, and I'll compliment our JV team, our freshmen, there are a lot of freshmen that came in last year, some sophomores as well. They battled with us every single day of practice, and that's ultimately, we're not 24-3 without those guys every day in practice.
Sure.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of the notoriety sometime or whatnot, but that those guys that ran Crispus Attucks offense and did everything that they could to help us get ready for that game. That's as important as anything else.
Absolutely.
Like I said, just as a program, hopefully we get to that point where everyone understands that and they want to be a part of it. Because ultimately there will be, especially with the new rules and everything, there will be, people that fall through the cracks, unfortunately, or, think I could be doing this or that or whatnot. But, my hope, and as a coach, I've always wanted to be a part of, of a program was, kids grow up wanting to be in your program.
Sure.
You know, ever since I started coaching, if there's young kids on the sidelines, I try to go up and give them fist bumps. You know, I try to do all that. Because the hope is that when they get to be that sophomore or junior, maybe they are a little bit upset at me. Maybe I've coached them a little too hard or screamed at them a little much, that they remember the time where I gave them that fist bump, and that I do care for each one of them.
On the back.
And they dreamt of playing Northview basketball.
Sure.
And hopefully that will help a little bit of that.
Coach, who you got in the Final Four?
I think it's going to be Duke. I don't know if I like that or not, but I just don't know that anyone can beat them.
Well, they're definitely probably the most talented team. I didn't pick them.
Yeah.
This is the reason I didn't pick them, is because some of the other teams have 23, 24, 25-year-olds playing.
I mentioned that, yeah.
And I was thinking that Duke at some point might crack under the pressure of being so young. But I have to maybe eat some of my words right now, because they are very
good. But you know, 5 years is tough to compete with sometimes, especially when you know, things get going and whatnot. So
got those going.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, you had a great season, and I know we're all pulling for you to have that same kind of a season next year, because it makes this entire area one of those places that everybody views. And speaking of you, we're going to come right back after this commercial. Again, you're watching Timeout with Coach here. Coach's Timeout in Brazil. You like that one. You get his plug in almost every time. We'll be right back.
The city of Brazil was founded in 1866. By 1876, there were 2 schools, 7 dry goods stores, 2 hardware stores, 4 churches, and 5 drugstores. One of those drugstores is still there today, Lynn's Pharmacy. Lynn's Pharmacy has grown from a small neighborhood drugstore to a modern pharmacy, offering prescriptions and medical equipment with old-fashioned values and unparalleled service. You can even step back in time and visit Lynn's Soda Parlor
here at Lynn's Pharmacy, downtown Brazil.
Your All-Pro running back Jonathan Taylor here for York Automotive. Looking for an All-Pro deal on your next car, truck, or SUV? York is my #1 pick. With over 600 vehicles in stock, York has the largest selection to meet your needs. We're talking new, pre-owned, and commercial vehicles. Take it from one All-Pro to another, York has your best deal.
Shop online at yorkautomotive.com and we'll show you why we're not #1, you are.
We're not #1.
You are!
You're #1 at York.
Indiana Sports Network Cups, given to guests on Timeout with the Coach, are provided by Fearless Designs.
And welcome back to Timeout with Coach. And all right, Coach, big opportunity for you here when we look at this entire community and all the things that have gone on here. What are the best things that you've seen here in the community at Northview?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a close-knit community. I mean, when I grew up in the north end of Terre Haute, been there a lot of my life, and my brother, who's a deputy over here, you know, kept always talking about how good of a community it was, and you know, okay, but you know, taking this job and my kids coming over. And going to school here at Northview and North Clay, it's truly a special place, and they've welcomed me. They didn't have to, but they've really taken to our program and what we've wanted to do, even at the beginning of the year last year when things weren't going so well. They supported us. You know, I really can't say enough. I actually teach a lot of my day over at the alternative school at Cumberland. Sometimes my mail doesn't always get to me as quickly as it can, but I had so many notes and letters coming out of our sectional win and regional game, and just people saying they like our program, they like how hard our kids play, and you know, that's special and that's not everywhere. You know, we want to develop a program where, you know, and I know, Coach, man, you know, businesses are closed on Friday and Saturday nights when we have a home game.
That's right.
Because they want to be there. They want to, you know, and I think that's going to happen next year. I think it'll be tough to get a seat at Northview basketball, and hopefully that's where we're going, and hopefully, you know, we can stay there for a little bit. But I have to thank the community here of Brazil and the Northview fans, because they've been great. And anytime I see people in the streets, complimentary, and you know, I will say, you know, sometimes I worry, you know, 14-12 in a sectional, and then 24-3 in a sectional. Those are special years. You know, they aren't all like that, but you know, hopefully we can continue doing some good things, and I just can't thank them enough.
Well, now that you broke all the records at Northview, Coach, thanks for coming on, and we really, I'll say this from the bottom of my heart, I want you to break your own records.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna
team's record.
Yeah, we're gonna give that a shot. Records are meant to be broken, and then, you know, when I step down, hopefully at some point, hopefully there's another coach that comes in, and you know, we can sit here and watch their games and hope they break the records again. So
that'd be great.
Yep.
Again, Coach,
thanks
for
having
stopping
me.
by.
Yep.
Again, Coach Shawn Nevill here from Northview High School, being able to have a 24-3 record, and literally we're looking for more to come on this one, and we'll look for more to come this next week as you stop back in and see who we have here at Timeout with Coach. You've watched Timeout with Coach from Coach's Timeout in Brazil, Indiana on Indiana Sports Network.
Indiana Sports Network cups given to guests on Timeout with the Coach are provided by Fearless Designs.